What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm talking about Death Spa, and looks like Jasper's going to be helping me out just a little bit. Hey, bud? Yeah, he's in one of those moods, so it looks like we're talking about this together whether we like it or not. Oh, see, there you go. Just mentioned it, you're going to put him to work and he disappears. Anyway, Death Spa. Released in 1990 and directed by Michael Fischa. It revolves around a health club where the owner, Michael, has lost his wife to suicide about a year prior. But lo and behold, her vengeful spirit has possessed the computer system that oversees this high-tech spa. So we've got Weird Science meets Carrie, meets Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, meets a Jane Fonda workout video, I guess. While this lady's ghost finds all sorts of gleefully sadistic ways to torture, torment, and kill all the health spa patrons. Now, this was obviously released right at the turn of the 90s, but it is an 80s movie to its very bones. From the score to the cinematography and the lighting, you get a lot of those rich, decadent 80s colors, a lot of those sort of giallo-inspired long tracking shots, bonkers colors and designs on all the wardrobe and outfits, like it's an explosion at the MC Hammer fan club factory or something. Just look for that multicolored coat that they make poor Ken Faree wear at one point. Holy crap. Speaking of name actors, besides Ken Faree, who's always a welcome presence in any horror movie, we also have a Hilary Banks sighting in this movie. That's right, Karen Parsons herself, the one and only, Daddy, I need $300, shows up in this in her screen debut. And if what I read can be trusted, this is the role that led to her being cast as Hilary on The Fresh Prince. You don't see a whole heck of a lot of her in this, but it is still kind of nice to see her performing in a context before she kind of became a household name as the very sort of bimbo-centric ditzy Hilary Banks. I mean, I wouldn't go quite so far as to call this performance more dignified, mostly just based on how the character is written. But it's still nice to see her doing something with a bit of a different tone to it. And speaking of undignified, holy crap, does this have, like, probably the most gratuitous, shamelessly gratuitous TNA I have seen in any 80s thriller. I haven't done the research, but it wouldn't shock me one bit if Michael Fischa came from a porn background before he started making feature films. Kinda glad my other half was out of the house while I watched this one, because it would be a very rough one to justify. I mean, even when one of the girls suffers a chemical burn in the steam room in one of the opening moments, you never actually see her perfect skin get burned. She just collapses to the ground, chest facing up to the camera, of course, and the deadly poison chlorine mist glides sexily over her naked body just before we cut. And conveniently enough, the only part of her body that suffers any major damage from these chemical burns is her eyes. When she gets out of the hospital, there's a scene where she has dinner with her boyfriend, same owner mourning his wife, by the way, and he feeds her a spear of asparagus blind in a scene that I cannot even begin to describe. Maybe they didn't want to use a banana because they thought that would be too on the nose or something, but I can't exactly see this movie being bashful all of a sudden. I mean, the way the whole scene unfolds with the dinner and the sex, it's like something out of a bad Anne Rice novel. Not that I know. And just throughout the movie, I mean, women's clothes are falling like leaves in autumn. Fortunately, there are still some very fun kills here, I have to say. There's the kill where the guy gets torn apart by the Peck Deck fly machine, of course. You may have noticed that it's one of the kills depicted on the poster art for the movie as well, and let me just tell you right now, they did the actor who plays the victim in that scene a big-time favor because they made him look 10 times more ripped than he actually is in the movie. On the poster, he looks like Tarzan. In the movie, he looks like he's maybe $150. Personally, I feel like that would have been a relatively easy death trap to escape if it were me, but hey, it's all about the gains, bro. One character gets a spear shooting out through the front of their throat. Well done, even if it does feel a little bit too Friday the 13th. When the doctor gets killed after the ghost makes a gun backfire and explode in his hand, that is actually pretty cool too. And that doctor, by the way, judging by what we see of him in this movie, not going into the seminary and becoming a priest is probably the best decision he ever made for himself and everyone else. There's an exploding head in a sauna, or at least I think it exploded. It was either that or a piece of wood sprung out from the side of the sauna and gouged through his head. You get a shower attacking someone. A blender eats someone's hand at the juice bar. You've got a sprinkling of electrocutions and immolation in there as well. But my favorite moment in all the gooey goodness is probably when the ghost just straight up makes someone spontaneously combust. The idea of the ghost possessing her surviving twin brother's body is an interesting one. Also turns out that the actor who played her twin brother, I forget his name, but I will put it down below here. He died when he was only like 29 or 30 or something like that. So sorry you left us so soon, man, because you seemed like you were a pretty decent performer. But wherever you are, sir, I had a blast watching this, so thank you very much. And you were also probably responsible for one of the best rejection lines I've heard in a movie in a little while, actually. Besides being the ghost's surviving brother, his character is also gay, and at one point when a lady makes a pass at him, his response is, "I'm Beta, you're VHS." Which if you updated it today, I don't know what that would be. Would it be something like, "I'm Blu-ray, you're DVD. I'm Shudder, you're Crave. I'm streaming, your physical media." Joking aside, the whole story of the brother's relationship with his deceased sister and their sort of troubled past is actually surprisingly empathetic and ambitious for a movie like this. And while we never really learn a whole heck of a lot about what this woman was like before she died, it is worth noting that interestingly, she is one of the few women in this movie who does not strip down at some point. Not that I can remember. There's maybe one scene that teases it pretty heavy, but it never happens. And for a turn of the 90s movie, they do a pretty good job of actually allowing the brother to be a real character and not just have his sexuality define him completely. Nor do they go the safe route of making him a sweet, angelic, magical minority character who's basically just there to pat the main character on the back. Like, this feels like a real person with strengths and flaws and charm and repellent characteristics too. I'm a little worried that discussions like this make the movie sound a lot more serious and dramatically substantial than it actually is. Please make no mistake, I am not saying that this is some overlooked character study or something like that. There is not a shred of this movie that you can take seriously, but I'll give them credit for at least trying to tell a story here. And where would we be without a visit from my other feline friend? Yep. This is Sola. Almost 18. Yeah. My sweet girl. At the end of the day, a movie like this is essentially a ride. It's the kind of movie that, as I've sort of talked about before, you get some friends together, get yourself a little bit of medicine, some good beer, get ripped, sit back, have some laughs, and a blast. The more I think about it, this seems like exactly the kind of movie that a horror fan would probably watch at his stag party. This movie is like the equivalent of a really good meal from McDonald's. It's trash, and you know deep down it's not good for you, but it's cooked so well that you just cannot resist. Anyway, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys with more content really soon.